Hi, I'm Chris Ladansky. I'm a third year geology student at the U of C, and today I'm going to be presenting what I've learned through my research on Deinonychus anteropus, also just known as Deinonychus. Now, the reason for its naming is that Deinonychus means terrible claw in Greek, and this is in reference to that large claw you can see on each of its feet. Jurassic Park also portrayed Deinonychus, but called them velociraptors, so oftentimes people will call Deinonychus Velociraptor, which for a long time we've thought is a mistake. Although, a recent study, very recently actually, it was done this year, was it was looking at a different dinosaur and trying to fit it onto the phylogenetic tree and found that it kind of was an intermediate between Deinonychus and later velociraptors. So maybe it's not so wrong to say that Deinonychus is actually a velociraptor. Now, the velociraptorines and dromaeosaurines, which is the group that we used to think uh, Deinonychus was a part of, they're both dromaeosaurids, which are known for that claw I was talking about earlier that comes off their second digit, that big claw. The dromaeosaurids themselves are a part of the theropodas, which are known for their knife-like teeth, which is called xiphodont, and an extra opening in front of the antorbital opening. Now, moving on to the fossil record of Deinonychus, the first fossil found of Deinonychus was by John H. Ostrom in 1969. He found it in Montana within the Cloverleaf Formation. Others have been found since in the Antlers Formation in Oklahoma and in the Cedar Mountain Formation of Utah. But the first fossils consisted of an incomplete skeleton, an incomplete skull and jaws, but mostly complete hands and feet. And on those hands and feet, you can see how sharp and long those claws are, and how devastating they would be for their prey. Now, these formations that we found the fossils in are all dated to the early Cretaceous. They also are generally thought of as tropical or subtropical environments that contain fluvial and deltaic systems. Fluvial being rivers and deltaic being, well, deltas, where the river reaches the ocean. We know this because when we look at those formations, we find a lot of shallow marine invertebrate fossils, along with sedimentary structures indicative of rivers, floodplains, and deltas. Now, this means that the environment that Deinonychus lived in was probably pretty similar to this image you can see here, but this image is modern. Cretaceous environment was a lot different, but it's a pretty good analog. As far as its eating habits, Deinonychus is a theropod, meaning that it's purely carnivorous. In the 90s, some researchers actually found the remains of a Tenontosaurus along with the remains of three Deinonychus. Tenontosaurus are actually quite a bit bigger than the Deinonychus, since Tenontosaurus would be about as tall as you are standing upright, while Deinonychus would be about to your waist level. So, what the researchers put together here is that the Deinonychus were likely killed by the Tenontosaurus as it tried to defend itself from a group attack. This kind of indicates that the Deinonychus were pack hunters, kind of like some modern carnivores you see today, like wolves. Some other researchers also found that the carbon 13 abundance in young, small Deinonychus teeth was different from the larger, mature Deinonychus. This clearly means that they had different diets, but what that means is that the parental care and feeding from the parents would finish before the young were able to sustain typical adult diets. And if we look at modern species which lack that parental care and parental feeding, we find that the young tend to seek out different environments than the adults. If this was also true with Deinonychus, it would it would also help to explain that difference in diet that we see when we look at the carbon 13 ratios of the teeth. And that concludes my presentation on Deinonychus anteropus. Thank you for watching and have a nice day.